Welcome to episode 8 of Lost Without Japan, a podcast based on Japan and your Lost Without moments. This is your director of travel for TKIC Studio Productions, coming to you with hopes and dreams of a return to travel for himself and others in summer 2022. I'd like to thank you for giving me a bit of your time today, and I truly hope that this podcast finds you in a good place or on a better path, no matter how it may seem at this moment. My belief is that we could all use a beacon like this in our lives to help guide us during these times, and my hope is that Japan, along with this show, will become that for you. Getting to Japan on either your first visit or return trip will be a topic I'll be hitting many times throughout the first season. Today's episode will contain some talk about the recent border closing, staying positive, and talking about making a link in Google Maps for your visit. We'll be taking a brief pause on our ever-growing list of travel items for this episode. We'll be sharing the link to the show's new link of possible travel locations in Google Maps for Hiroshima today. It's going to be part 1 for that. I'm going to begin hitting different locations in Japan, giving both places to eat and places to visit. So really look forward to sharing that with you. So go ahead and take a few deep breaths and come along with me as we begin planning either your first trip to Japan or your return trip to Japan once travel opens back up to us. So let's get this show started and get you on your way to making your very own Lost Without moments. I want to say a big thank you again to our sponsor, K-Pop Kimchi Podcast. The super brief advertisement, as always, will go at the end of today's show. If you could give them a listen and check them out, tell them I sent you, it'd be much appreciated. Today's topic, again, is staying positive and making your own Google Map locations that are here. But let's check in and see how everything's going first. How are you doing today? How is everything going? I hope that this finds you in good health. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you're a returning Lost Without Japan listener, thank you for returning. First, let's just check in. How are your steps in Dreams Come True saving account going? Keep those celebrations going, no matter how small it was or how big it was. Let's just be happy that we're making progress together. My Japanese studies has hit a bit of a bump lately with family concerns that have had my focus in different places. Luckily, everyone is back to being healthy again, but I fall into a bit of habit of doing things that I would have in the past as like just a distraction from some of the things that were going on. Can anyone say Pokemon Brilliant Diamond? My hope is that this time heading back into break will give me a nice opportunity to refocus and get back to working on learning Japanese, to help reach that long-term goal of mine to move to Japan and have that be way more enjoyable once that does happen. So I'm hoping to keep sharing that growth with you as it moves forward, and I'm hoping that yours is going as well. Truly feel lucky today to be sharing this journey with you, and looking forward to both supporting you and having us support each other. Tell those around you what you're doing. Have them hold you accountable. Let's keep each other going. And if you want to reach out to the show, as always, you can reach out at lostwithoutjapan@gmail.com or through Instagram at lostwithoutjapan as well. So let's get started here. And really, the news that I'm sure all of you have heard for the most part is that Japan was closing their borders. And this was after about a month ago when things were looking like they were beginning to let in students, business people, again, with some sort of brief quarantine time. But things were really beginning to look positive. And my hope was that if this went well and people were getting in, that we would see tourism begin to happen again. And I had no doubt that it would be in limited numbers, that they would limit how many were, getting in each day. But I don't mind that, and I wouldn't mind having a few days of quarantine as well. Not the whole week, but if we had like 3 days and we're able to get in, that's definitely something that could go. And that was keeping me going as well. So when that news came out, the one article that I looked at that caught my attention first was with the Japan Times. And the title of the article, if you're looking to look at it as well, is Japan to bar all new foreign visitors as Omicron fears grow. So the government announced in this article that came out on November 29th that on that Monday that it will ban all foreign travelers for 1 month, effective on that Tuesday in an effort to prevent the Omicron variant from spreading domestically within Japan. And they were saying that the restrictions will encompass all foreign exchange students, interns, those travels for business, and it was for every country in the world. The entry ban would not affect Japanese nationals or foreign residents returning to the country, but they would need to isolate in government-designated facilities from anywhere from 3 to 10 days. And I know for some of that's part of the, I guess you could say, like what's kind of making it difficult too is having no idea if that's 3 days, if it's 10, if it's 5, and not like necessarily having some sort of more, like felt out timeline of like, hey, if it's 3 days, we know this. If it's 5 days, we know this. If it's 10 days, we know this. But arriving not knowing also makes that hard. But what prompted this was it looks like that there was a traveler from Namibia, one of the 9 countries included in that initial announcement, that had tested positive for COVID-19 while at a dedicated facility in Japan. And with all that's going on, I don't know about you, but it seems like every day, or not every day, but like every month it's kind of changing. So it is kind of hard to keep positive with that, because I know for myself personally, my trip is kind of like what keeps me going through the year. And it's me doing things like that Amazon link that I will include in the notes, as well as I did in the last episode, of travel recommendations for things to bring with you on your trip to help make that a little more enjoyable, or starting this Google Maps locations for the show for each different cities and things like that with you. Those are things including like just looking at travel videos, watching different personalities that just keep me going, keep me positive. And when you hear news like this, it kind of, makes you take a step back, because as everyone in the show knows, I'm looking to go next summer. I'm looking to go with my friend. And when I kind of took that step back, what I did last summer, when it was like pretty obvious that we weren't able to travel, because I had planned on going with my son the previous summer, was just that I kind of took a step back and said, well, if we're not going to be going now, and it's pushed off another year, what does that give me? It gives me a chance to save a little bit more. And what I decided to do, along with my travel buddy that will be in the podcast at some point in time, Josh, we as a group just decided, hey, if we can't go this summer and it's going to be the following one and we have another year to save, why don't we extend our trip? And so we went from planning on 2 weeks to planning to being gone for 3. Now, I don't plan on, at this time, extending it to a month or something like that. I can't be gone for my part-time job for that length of time over the summer and lose out on that much income. So basically, if we were to be canceled again, and again, I want to just state pretty clearly here, I still feel we have a great chance of going next summer. The numbers for Japan are fairly low. And it seems to be more of like a government issue at this point in time, with both parties wanting to seem strong against COVID after that first initial wave back some time ago now, that the government was criticized for not closing borders soon enough. And I feel like each party doesn't want to be the one that's caught feeling like they didn't do what they were supposed to. But at some point in time, I think you're going to have to look at your numbers and see that they are low. And that you look, like when I look at my Google Map locations that I've saved for my personal list in the past, this is something I talked about in the last episode, was that I see quite a lot of businesses that are permanently closed. At some point in time, tourism is going to have to be allowed just for income for all these different cities, towns, and things like that, and just for Japan as a whole. And I do feel like we stand a good chance of that come summer. So I'm not going to be extending it past my 3 weeks, but what I decided was if for some reason that this happens again next summer and we have to push off for the following year, what we'd end up doing is just basically looking to book some slightly nicer accommodations. I'd look to have some extra money with me just for things to do while we're there, maybe catch a couple more baseball games, just have altogether an even better experience than we would have, this upcoming summer. So maybe that's something we can just look at together and just say, hey, yes, there's the chance. But if there is, it's not the end of the world. And we can look to improve ourselves, save a little bit. And for those of you that still feel like your Japan trip's a couple years away, with your savings, you're right on track. So don't worry about it. And if you need someone to talk to or reach out to for support, I am always there for you. So let's get going on to some more positive things right now. And I'd like to talk to you today about creating your own Google Maps. And I'm sure that this is something, be it Apple or whatever service that you use, that we use it on a fairly regular basis. Me, I have a horrible sense of direction. So I use it all the time for getting out and about, but a lot of people may not create lists within this of places that they want to save. And one of the things I did back in 2017 when I went by myself was I created a list in Google of map locations for different cities I was going to visit and could possibly visit. I bookmarked my Airbnb, bookmarked the hotels I was staying at, and then began to do a bit of a research around them to see what was available. Where was the convenience stores? Where were places to eat that I was interested in? When I was researching what to do as far as different tourist spots, I was putting those into my maps. And what ends up happening, at least for me, is it just got me more and more excited. And I ended up finding things that I wouldn't have found. And one of the things I enjoy the most is finding things that aren't in that top 10 lists that you find for Osaka or top 10 for Tokyo, top 10 for whatever. And I find that when you're watching these travel videos where you see people that are just literally walking the streets of Tokyo or Osaka, not talking, just showing things, that you find restaurants, you find things that aren't even on Google, and you kind of can drop a mark, especially when you see that there's a bunch of people by them. May just be new and just something to look forward to. One of the things I also enjoy and have enjoyed for my time is kind of interacting with people that are there and building relationships that could end up becoming friendships. And, who knows, you could have someone visit you or someone to go back and visit again on your return visits as well. So let's start off. Within Google Maps, start looking. If all you're going to is Tokyo, you could start there. And if you put in Tokyo and you can start doing map locations, one of the things I like to do in Google Maps is you can search hotels as well, or just see places that you want to visit for each city. It's great. And let me tell you, once you know where you're staying, it really is a huge benefit to kind of look what's around and have an idea of some possible things. So when you're on your trip, you're not just constantly searching for things or just doing necessarily what's right next to you because you're tired after a long day of having fun. But you can have some things to share also with people that are coming with you. If you have someone joining you, just a great thing that you could, if you leave those sharing options open, allow others that are coming on your trip to add their own interest. I don't know about you, but with my son and Josh and I, like all going, we all have some things we're interested in. It's nice to give a spot to where we can all put some input, put some ideas for ourselves, and then also for the group. And we can kind of look through and say, hey, this is what, Josh's looking for. This is what Sam's looking for. It's just a great, wonderful, amazing place to save those locations for you. And when I was thinking about all those different things, I know on the past few podcasts, I was asking if it might be beneficial for the show to introduce its own Google Map saved locations for different cities within Japan. And with that Amazon list, having that link available to you, I really felt that this is something that's needed. If this podcast is going to be based on helping people get to Japan or helping people have a better time on the return, what better way to do that than sharing both items that will make your trip better, but also share locations that I can recommend as well. So this is going to be part one of a talk on Hiroshima. And if you go to the show description, you can see the link for the Google Maps for the show, and we'll continue to update that over time. If you ever notice that something's not working, please let me know. But if you are looking to join along with the show, go ahead and hit pause now. Okay, now that everyone's back, what we're going to be looking at today is a list of things that I came up with for Hiroshima. And today's focus will be mainly on some food. There will be some different tourist spots as well. I'll share some of my places that I'll look to go to as well. I'm going to stop start at the bottom of our list here for Good Time, and that is a location that I've talked about a few times as well, but now you can have this on your list. And again, he makes his own hot dogs. They have adult beverages. He's a very warm, welcoming personality himself. It's just a great place to go to. And what brought me to Japan the first time and ended up helping me find Good Time was the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. And I've talked about that in the show in the past, but if you're going to Hiroshima or anywhere near it, it really is something I'd recommend to anyone and truly worth your time. So I have that on the maps as well. Up above that, there's a teppanyaki restaurant. And one of the things that caught my attention in that was just the high rating for the restaurant as well. That were in here, and just a lot of different foods that were here. Above that one as well is one of the lists that I've decided to add for myself for next time with my friend and my son that we're visiting. Is just possible places, but most likely they're going to be things I look to for my return trip, because I plan on coming back to Japan after the visit with my son like numerous times. But my next planned visit after going with my son is going to be kind of just basing my time in Hiroshima and Fukuoka. Kind of just exploring the areas around there. My trip's probably going to be a shorter one next time, just because of, limited time to save things. But I really would just want to visit my friend again after we're able to go. And that community that's growing just from the friends that are meeting with other friends whenever we do. And I miss it. I don't want to go 2 years again once we're allowed to go back in and things return to normal. So I'm going to keep on adding things for myself. And one of those is the craft beer and Sumbi list that is on our list too. And Raku beer both have wonderful ratings. And when I'm looking through pictures for them, just have way more than just the adult beverages, but have what looks to be some just simply wonderful meals to go with that. One place that popped up on my list was a noodle shop that specialized in Chinese and Korean dishes. And on that past episode, one of the things I told you to do is that when you're in Japan, broaden your horizons a bit. One of my favorite restaurants to eat at was Italian. One of the best meals I've ever had in my life came in Tokyo from an Indian restaurant that is unfortunately closed. It was located right near the Tokyo Dome. But don't just limit yourself to Japanese food. There's lots of amazing food made by Japanese nationals, and you'd be doing a disservice to miss out on it. And for those following along with the list, Kikosu Soup no Misa Kiwaniai is on that list, and above that is probably one of my favorite foods. Put no probably about it. It is one of my favorite foods to eat in Japan, and that is Japanese curry. Love it with both chicken and pork cutlets. And I have Koko Ichibanyas, and just one of my favorite places to go. It is not expensive in any way, shape, or form, and the amount of food that you get is just like not a small serving. It's actually a decent sized meal that you can even make bigger. You can specialize hotness. You can specialize the size, how much rice, how much pork. Pretty wonderful. And something that I added to the list is Tokyo curry. And I've not been there yet, but again, one of my goals I feel is to hit as many curry places as I possibly can. Last trip when I went with my friends, I believe I had 5 pork cutlet curried meals in one day. I don't recommend that, but I had a wonderful time doing it, and each one was a different location. So if it wasn't, besides the ramen and sushi on your list of things, take it from me. Give your curry in Japan a chance. Another location that I have is Bar Bunny Cafe, and one thing I liked about that is that again, some different Korean food, and more than just drinks that are here. One thing, I love baseball. My son loves baseball. And on that next visit that we're going to together, we are going to try to hit a few different baseball games. And I've not yet been to the Hiroshima Carp Mazda Zoom Stadium, but that is on the list for next time. I have been to the stadium in Osaka for the Hanshin Tigers. I have been to Tokyo Dome, but definitely going to look to see the Carp on my next visit. And with all the different foods that I was having, we'd be remiss to not add some dessert. One of the places that looked really interesting to me was Polar Bear, and the ratings on it were 4.8 out of 5 for 22 people. Looks to be kind of a various different sweets and desserts that are here, specializing in ice cream, and I love dessert anytime, but I love it even more on vacation. One restaurant that I have visited and that I will return to is another Korean restaurant, Agungi, and that is on our list up above Polar Bear. And I have been there. We'll be there again. The owners and everyone that's there are so friendly. And if you're a fan of music, K-pop music, or things like that, they always seem to have something playing. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful time. And just one heads up for it, if you look in the reviews as well, it's on a floor off of the main road. So it's not just like you go there and it's here. It's up a couple flights, and you'll see that available as well. But if you're in Hiroshima, I can only stop at 2 places. I would say Good Time and our friends at Agungi as well. In the past podcast, one of the things I talked about was that I love visiting Japanese malls. Don't necessarily do it for every city, but the Aeon Mall in Hiroshima, Fuchu, is there for you as well. Depending on where you are in the trip, especially if you've been in Japan for a bit. I love getting to see people interacting with them, with their family or friends, and seeing people in a non-tourist location, just doing day-to-day things is part of what I go to Japan for. And it doesn't have to be a mall that you're going to. I've watched baseball games on the weekend between different sports clubs and had a blast doing so. I've encountered people to talk to while doing so, and they're like, oh, what brings you here? Like kind of like, why are you watching our baseball game? But in a very polite way. And I let them know that I love baseball as a whole, that I'm traveling from Chicago. And I've just had some wonderful experiences from doing that. So add it to your list. Even if it's just for a bit, I really feel like you won't be disappointed. Next is one of those tourist locations that you can visit is the Hiroshima Castle. And then also we have the floating Torii Gate that's currently under construction at this point in time. But I hope by summer that is going to be something that will be available. It's been on my list to see, but its location is one where a lot of the past few times that I've been in Hiroshima only for just a couple of days and have spent my time catching up with friends and things that are here and haven't made my way out to the Torii Gate. But that is going to be something that I look to do on my return visit. And one of the things that I have located is Itajima in Hiroshima is one of those places off of the main area, one of the islands off of Hiroshima. It has a naval museum that my friend Josh visited as well on his past visit. I did not go with him when he did so, and I'm going to have him on the podcast to talk about that as well, so that he can give you a little more information. But one thing that I saw while looking at that town in particular is that is a amazing spot looking through the reviews for sunrise and sunsets. And that seems just like a wonderful thing and going to be part of probably like a couple things that I do on my next visit. Because like I told those of you that have listened before, one of my things in Kyoto that I'm going to be doing is looking to watch the sun come up and start my day off in that regards, hitting temples, shrines, and things, just make a day of it. But really just try to make as many moments as possible for myself, my son, my friends, and make this something that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. And that is one thing that these lists that you can create for yourself, and it doesn't matter what map service you're going to be, but I'll tell you, Google Maps is wonderful in Japan. It may vary according to country, but Google Maps will help you with subways. It'll help you with trains. It'll help you with buses. It's really my go-to service while I'm there, even if I use Apple Maps, mainly when I'm at home. So that is the show's start of a list for Hiroshima. Again, we'll add more to it. And we're going to hit different cities that are here throughout our time and just give us something to talk about, as I really feel like our list of things for Japan is going to kind of come to the point to where we have pretty much everything I would recommend. You may have your own things, of course, as always, to add to it, but I'm not sure that we're going to be able to keep on adding additional things to that without just having it be something that loses its meaning for us. So we're going to switch our show's focus to just start talking about locations and get you excited about your trip. And again, getting you excited for that first trip or getting you excited just for a return trip. And who knows, bring up something that you may not have thought of yourself. If you have things that you would like included in our Hiroshima list or included in future talks of Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, or wherever you've been within Japan that you want included in the show's Google Maps saved locations, feel free to email me at lostwithoutjapan@gmail.com or just through Instagram at lostwithoutjapan, and I will give you credit for that shared location and make sure to include it in what we have. So one thing I'm looking for over to winter break, besides is just a return to more of a steady study of Japanese, is I've already booked one interview, basically. I'm looking to try to get a second one going for over winter break. One of those interviews I'm going to look to have is with a friend, Tom, who's not been to Japan, but has traveled a lot and just kind of has some fun talking about different things about Japan with him and get someone's take that isn't someone that is routinely into Japan. Tom is a friend of mine that I've known for a few years, and we have kind of a board gaming group and a D&D group that gets together every other Friday and have so for some time. And Tom always brings some sort of thought to what we're doing that the rest of the group hasn't thought of. I don't know if you have friends that are like that too, that just bring in different perspectives. And I think he's going to be a perfect fit to the show, even if he doesn't have a lot of knowledge in Japan. I'm also going to be looking to get my friend Josh on. Like I said, he's going on my next trip. He was with me on the last, and just a good friend. And he's just into as much into Japan as I am. And it's going to be a lot of fun getting to talk to him, with this show and then share that with you. Now on to our housekeeping. Please give a follow, like, and comment on your favorite streaming service for updates on the show. Feel free to give a follow on Instagram at Lost Without Japan or lostwithoutjapan.libsyn.com. And if you'd like to reach out to me directly, as I've said, you can reach out in that old-fashioned way of email at lostwithoutjapan@gmail.com. Looking for the next episode to arrive in 2 weeks again and have our adventures continue together as we discuss more about Japan and different locations that you can visit and recommendations for those. And really, at the end of it all, just looking to help you make your own Lost Without Japan moments in episode 9. Crazy to think that we're this close to 10. And as this year is coming to a close, also making me think about that we'll be 30 episodes in or whatever it will be around that time next year. Just look so forward to this adventure and just this community, and sharing everything that we have with each other means the world to me. So on behalf of Lost Without Japan and its entire crew, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip today. And we're looking forward to seeing you on board again in the very near future. To everyone out there, Ogenki Day. Stay well, my friends.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the K-Pop Kimchi Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Turneau, with my co-host, Paul Grohl, Brian Limper.
And when you need a break from planning your upcoming trip or maybe even your first trip to Japan, be sure to come check us out on the K-Pop Kimchi Podcast, your #1 source for all things K-pop related.